Welcome traders to our end of week technical analysis video. Jumping straight into things here, as you can see, we last spoke about this consolidation area between the top side resistance of around 3370 and the bottom side support of around 3270. So we had a rough 1000 pip range here, and price was trading in between these levels for quite some time. However, as you can see, sort of midweek or sort of just after our midweek technical analysis was posted, we saw a strong bearish move which has taken price all the way down, almost touching back into the 3100s. But as you can see, price ended up finding support around one of our levels here. With that being said, you can now see that price is starting to slowly push up in a bullish fashion, with price currently testing one of our points of interest, which is that bottom side support of this original range. If I go ahead and just mark this in grey for you, so this is the range that I am talking about. So with a top side average resistance of around 3370 and a bottom side support of around 3270. So as you can see, that is the sort of range that we was trading within. Obviously we had some minor levels or some lower levels inside of this range that was testing as both support and resistance, but as you can see, since this bearish push, price is now coming up towards that bottom side support of that previous range to what looks to be testing as a resistance. If I go ahead and load up into our minute 15, you can see that price is now being taken over by the bulls, and bears are losing control. You can see that this initial bearish push and then this initial bullish push that is now taking price through these points of interests that we have marked in here, and is now testing on this level. So what can we expect to see for gold today in a normal market? So the reason why I say normal market is, if you have a look here, we have unemployment rate and a non-farm payroll news event that are taking place today, and remember that the non-farm payroll is probably one of the most volatile news events, as spoken about in our main channel. If you haven't seen that post, go ahead and check out our main channel. You will see all the information that you need to know regarding these news events. So in a normal market, what could we expect? So obviously we have this non-farm payroll dropping at 1:30, so just before the New York session. So if we just sort of drag this up real quick, and then we can just see when that's going to happen. Bang. If I go ahead and put this in red, like so, and then you can see the price is testing at 1:30. Cool. Don't know why that looks slanted to me, but I think I'm just tripping. Anyway, so we have a non-farm payroll event, which it will, no matter if price is here, price will go here, bang, or the other way, price could do this, bang, bang. We could see something like this for non-farm payroll. Price always moves a lot, especially for gold, across all pairs, matter of fact, but gold is probably one of the most affected pairs when it comes to our non-farm payroll event. So we're just going to sort of mark up our chart in a regular fashion, ignoring the fact that there is a non-farm payroll event taking place today, and then we can see on Monday, when we just post our start of week technical analysis, we can see how the NFP has affected the market. Remember, most times, 9 times out of 10, after a news release, the market will always correct itself. So for example, if NFP hits and price ends up coming all the way up here, price will probably correct itself and come back to where it left off after that NFP drop, after the NFP news release dropped. So marking up our chart and going over our chart as a normal trading day. So we're seeing this sort of consolidation on the lower time frames here. If I go ahead and mark this in with an eclipse, sorry, not an eclipse, I'll just sort of brush it, so you can see that this little area here we're seeing marking as consolidation. So if I go to our minute 5 real quick, you'll be able to see this in a better fashion. You can see some low time frame consolidation. What does this indicate to us? So obviously we've had our initial bullish move out of these depths of around 3200, and we are now seeing price start to stagger. Does that mean that the bears are taking over and the bulls are losing control? Not necessarily, because you can see the same sort of thing happen here. So you can see the bulls pushed price up. We saw a consolidation area take place here, exactly like we're seeing at the top, with price almost creating a fake out, touching one of our points of interest, and then continuing on higher. So we could see that's another thing that we could potentially see as of right now for gold. However, there is a point of interest that we want to take into account, and it's going to be this level here. So if we are to repeat what's happened here, what we could see is we could see price continue to consolidate, or we could see a strong bearish push towards this level, where we then see bears lose control, and then price gets pushed up, creating a new high in comparison to this recent bearish move. Another scenario that we could see is price could just move bullish from this level here. We could just see price continue on from this level here, but obviously there are some low time frame levels that we want to take into account, and taking these into account now. So we have a minor level here, we have some sort of resistance found that has been tested a couple of times, and then we have sort of a main support area, which is marked by here. These long wicks and the exhaustion of these candlesticks indicates to us that this area is being tested as a support. If I drag it a little bit further in the future, you can see that we did create an order block there, which then pushed price even higher, and you can see that price did try to test this area as a resistance beforehand. So with that being said, we most likely will see price consolidate between these ranges. Once we see a break out of this level and we see price continue, we're going to call it a bearish market. For our time frame we're on right now, we're going to call it a bearish move, and then the same thing for that top side level. If we see sort of price break through that level and continue on, we could perhaps see price come back into the range and test as a test on previous support as a resistance and then continue on, or we could just see price continue on bullish. Another thing that we could potentially see is just price consolidate, maybe a few exhaustions over between the ranges, just extending over the side of the ranges, expanding into sort of like no man's land, sort of, if you will, until the non-farm payroll event takes place. So that's another scenario that we could see, but obviously we are on our minute 15 right now. So if we just sort of increase our time frame and have a little look, we can see that in comparison to this here, you can see that we did find some sort of support. However, it is not as strong as this. As you can see multiple times, that we have seen quite a big exhaustion on our candlesticks, creating a big wick, especially this wick here. You can see that bears did try to push price down, and then by the time the candlestick closed, we actually turned it into a bullish candlestick. If I go ahead and look at that on the minute one, we can have a little look more into detail. I believe that was the let me go back real quick. I believe that was the 7:45 minute 15, so that would have started at 7:30. So if we go to 7:30 here, so you can see that the original move on this candlestick up until about 5 minutes left, so 66% of the way through, 2/3 of the way through of this minute 15 candlestick, we was bearish, and then in the last 5 minutes price pulled itself back up, creating a bullish candlestick. So with that being said, that does indicate to us that we can see so going back to our minute 15, sorry, you can see that price is stronger in a bullish fashion than it is here. Obviously recently when this happened, we saw a strong bearish push down and then price continued on up. However, looking at the current market and looking at the current price action that we are seeing, that is sort of that most likely won't happen. As you can see, price is pushing up now. We have this strong support found at around 3,250, with price now nearing that top side of this low time frame range of around 3258. So with all being said, let's go back to our hour one real quick. With all being said, we'll have a look closer right here. So if we see, obviously this hour we're only roughly halfway through, so we could sort of see something like this. We could see a sort of a star candlestick, a doji candlestick, where we see price push up and then price pushes down, and creating a very, very small bodied candlestick. However, there is another scenario. Price could in turn just push up from this level, and we could see price move maybe 200 to 300 pips nearing to our next point of interest, which is around 3,290. That's if we ignore this point of interest of around 3,265, and we could see price push up to that level before our NFP news release. What would that mean for gold if we see that? If we see price push back up into this point of interest here, we are back inside this range. Obviously, we have had some slippage, we have had some exhaustion on the higher time frames out of this zone. However, taking us back into this zone makes us aware and want to take interest into these roughly 6 points of interest that we have marked in, indicated by these these purple rectangles. So with all that being said, it's pretty straightforward for us today. So we're looking at our low time frames, and we're looking sort of right now, we're looking whether we see this level broken through, or we see this resistance broken through. And if we see sort of price continue on breaking this high here, if I go ahead and mark that in, because that would be the final level that we'd want to break. So if price pushed up to here, there's still a chance for price to come back down and test in between this range. If we were to see price break this level here, this is the next level that we'd be looking at, and then price, like I just said, for the bullish scenario, could just keep continuing to move sideways and consolidate between this range. The one thing that we are looking for right now is a clean break of one of these two top levels. So obviously we have our range here, again, of around 3,258 to 3,250. What we're looking for is price to break one of these levels, which then, so for example, in a trader's mindset, what I'd be thinking right now is, okay, let's say we saw a bearish move and we see price hit here. Okay, I'm not ready for a bearish setup yet, but it is definitely possible. And if we see price continue, okay, it's looking more of a bearish setup. And then if we see price break that level, a bearish move is inevitable. Obviously, nothing's over 100% in the market, but it's highly likely. It's all about probability. And then it's the exact same thing for this bullish move. So if I see, for example, right now price is nearing this level, we could see price test as a resistance. If price then breaks that level, and then watching this high here, which is marked by this grey box, watching that level to see if we see price break through there. If price then continues continues bullish, we see a continuation, and then we switch to our higher time frames and we see, okay, where could we see price go to? Most likely level is around that 3,290 level. So it's pretty straightforward. We're checking out minute 5 right now, watching this consolidation range, and we're seeing if price can break through this level. If it does, we're waiting for that secondary level of resistance to be broken. And the same thing, if we see price come back down and starts to break through this bottom side support, we want to see price break through that first level of support and then that secondary level of support, and then continue on trading in this sort of new range that we created after price had this bearish drop. But with what we're seeing right now, bullish move is most likely. It is the most probable thing. As you can see, price action is bullish. If I go to minute 1 real quick, you can see that we are pushing up now, and we are having some decently sized and some decent volume within these bullish candlesticks. As you can see, we are seeing a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern take place right now, with the most recent candlestick completely wiping out the previous data of the previous candlestick, and then this technically would be our entry candlestick. But obviously more about that will be in our course that will be getting released at some point in the future. We're just making some tweaks to it and making sure it is perfect for you guys. So yeah, with that being said, we're watching our minute 5 level. Sorry, I've just gone to Bitcoin. We're watching our minute 5 level, and we're watching this first level of resistance and then the second level of resistance to be broken. If we see our second level of resistance to be broken, we will then switch to our higher time frames and look to see this 3,290 level broken. Going back to our minute 5, if we see price test this as resistance or drop back down, we're then looking for a bearish opportunity. If we see price break through this first support, it's just one confirmation. If we break through this secondary level of support, that's our second confirmation, and then a bearish move is most probable. channel. So that's what we're going to be doing, and then again we go to our hour one just to look at the overall bias of the market, and if we see price break through this level here, which was the bottom side support of this previous range, like I said at the start of the video, we most likely will see a bullish continuation with price finishing somewhere around 3,290, hopefully before the news event takes place. So with all that being said, that's going to be our end of week technical analysis video. I hope you have all enjoyed. I think we have now hit 400 subscribers, which I am so appreciative for. I'm really loving your support, your engagement. If we can keep that up, keep liking the videos, keep commenting, even if you just comment how you found the video. It can be positive, it can be negative, whatever, comment to comment, and yeah, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and continue to hit. I'm hoping one day this channel is massive, and we are breaking down the charts together amongst thousands and thousands of people. So yeah, appreciate the support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.